Junior Dos Santos. If you guys have ever met Junior Dos Santos, I assure you you're a Junior Dos Santos fan. He's one of those guys. And when the biggest, strongest, right, heavyweight champion of the world, when that guy turns out to be a really playful and nice guy with a charming smile and a good sense of humor, like there's something endearing. There's a real Daniel Cormier quality to that. I add all of this in because I don't know if I could compliment Junior enough in terms of telling you how much I like him and how much I think that his opinion in the sport of MMA has been earned. He has absolutely earned the right to make whatever statements he makes. I do want to pick those words apart, though, because something came out today. And Junior today, in a headline that I will trust the reporter got right, though I most certainly wouldn't assure that for you, but let's just speak to it, said that the UFC was disrespectful to him and that they threatened to release him if he didn't take certain fights. And I believe he was specifically referring to the fight with Rosenstrike. But let's condense this down so we can then talk about it. That the UFC threatened to release him if he didn't fight. Now, because of the topic that you're discussing, which is fighting, half-naked, steel cage, unified rules, nothing but 4-ounce gloves and a mouthpiece, because you're talking about something that is very sensitive when comparing to another line of work, it seems to get very hard rhetorically for anybody to reboot you. It's just tough. I've never really seen anybody even try. And I'm finding myself, as I'm about to tackle this, realizing up front, I need to disclose to you guys, that's tough. Hey, you have to go fight somebody. Like, that's just tough. But any other line of work you come from, I came from construction. And I will tell you what, the foreman would most definitely use those words. If you don't come in today and then whatever the job was, you don't have a job here tomorrow. A number of people tried to test the foreman. Generally happened on a Monday, which was an interesting coincidence, which particularly pissed off this foreman because he believed they'd all partied too hard over the weekend and couldn't get out of bed and set this guy off. But they tested him and they did not come back the next day. He was not kidding. You come here to do the job that we have a deal that you said you were going to do. Or I change my end of it, which is I don't pay you. Pretty simple. You work here or you don't. Do we have an agreement or not? Right? And in any other line of work, nobody would question that, including you guys right now. In any other line of work, you would not question it. But you also wouldn't speak out against it as a way of defending yourself. You know that you look like a fool. You're a grocer. And imagine you didn't come in for work and stock the shelves and you got fired. You would never once attempt to defend yourself by saying they were so disrespectful to me. They told me if I don't come in and stock those shelves, I was fired. Well, by God, I didn't stock those shelves and look at me. They put me right out on my ass. You wouldn't kind of defend yourself like that way because anybody you said it to would go, duh. Of course you were let go from being a shelf stocker the day you didn't show up and stock shelves. Right? I mean, you would never try to defend yourself using those words, but because it involves the word fight, it buys a little bit of latitude. It's a very tough topic. How could they try to make me get in there and fight somebody? Right? It starts to be really tough, and I could do that very easily. I could look left and look right and kind of lower my voice and go, guys, you guys aren't going to believe this. I just talked to Dana White. He told me, unless I go fight somebody, he's not going to pay me. What a scumbag. And whoa, you'd have people eyes open up. What? This guy wants to make you fight somebody or else. And then you find out, oh, wait a minute, it's a fight promotion. And that's the contract. As a matter of fact, of the 4-page contract that we signed, clause number 1 says I must step in there and fight somebody. I mean, do you see how this works? Do you see where it gets to be a little bit silly? But because of the word fight, it also gets sensitive. And rhetorically, it sounds nefarious. It's very interesting. And okay, but let's take it Junior's point because he's not the only one to make it. We, of course, have heard this over time. So there's two ends of the spectrum. All right, let's go A and let's go Z, but then let's discuss what could be in between. A, the organization says you fight when we ask you or you're released. Okay, that's A. The absolute other end of the spectrum, which we're going to call Z, is I will let the organization know when it's convenient and I will compete on those days and those days only. Right? That's the A and that's the Z. You may not fully agree with the A. You don't fully agree with the Z. What's in between? And that's the one thing nobody's suggesting. Before we even have a dialogue or a back and forth, no one's even made a suggestion. I have the way I would like to see it. I realize there's problems with what I'm presenting from a production and a business standpoint in selling ticket and merchandising and planning what venue you're going to go to and how the placement of the card, and whether this goes on pay-per-view or this goes, there's a number of conflicts that logistically would have to be worked out. I have my own fantasy. My way that I like it is to get out a great big board known as a calendar. I'd have all 365 days of the year marked on it. And prior to the year, I would circle dates. This is where the heavyweight championship's going to be defended. I don't know who the champion's going to be, and I do not know who the opponent's going to be, but these are the dates that the heavyweight championship will be contested. So if you are the champion, be ready on these dates. I would circle on that calendar every single night that the welterweight title is going to be defended. The featherweight title, all of them. The boys, the girls, I'd circle it all so that everybody knew. The viewer, the fans, the participating partners, the athletes, the managers, the trainers, everything would be known ahead of time. I don't even have to call a guy if he's got my belt and tell him he's going to come and defend. He will know on this date the defense will be made, and we're just going to find out who the opponent's going to be. I would solve half of the problem, but I would solve 100% of the back and forth conversation on it. And it's not just Chael's idea. This is being tested right now with the PFL. The PFL is having a tournament with specified, predetermined dates. And when you go through the history of the PFL, there's not a whole lot of matches that get broken up. There's not a whole lot of alternates that need to be found. And prior to the PFL doing it, this was done in the IFL. Now, before you look at those business models and tell me, Chael, they didn't work out, yeah, I understand that. But if you try to identify what the failures were, it wasn't everything. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. I like the idea, personally. It's a starting point. I agree there's going to be some back and forth, but that's how I would like to see it done. I would like to know specifically where the championship matches are ahead of time. I will get back to you on what city that's going to be, and I will get back to you when the press conference is. I will get back to you the rest of the card. I will get back to you when the tickets go on sale, but like anything, it has to start somewhere. That's where I submit and suggest we start. There's no conversation. There's no back and forth if you've got the belt. And quite frankly, the rest of the card can come together as it does more organically, easier. Your main event still drives. That's still your anchor. That's still going to be a championship match. The rest of the card, you have very interchangeable mediocrities. We all understand it. Nobody wants to say it. But I believe it would solve some problems, and I think that for any fighter, and Junior might have said this today, but Junior most certainly was not first, and he will not be the last, who thinks that they have to do something or there's a repercussion. That goes for everybody within the organization. There are 500 employees of the UFC in Las Vegas alone, not fighters. The people that bring this event so you can sit down and enjoy it, and they all work very hard. But they all show up every day to do their job, not just on the days they feel like it. One of the great coaches of my life is a man named Tom Hogan. And Tom Hogan only taught me to do one thing, and it was lift weights. But there's a correct form, and there's days that you want to do back and bicep. There's days that you want to do chest and tricep. You got to get a leg day. He would swear up and down the only thing that you could do absolutely every day with no breaks in between was your stomach. Tom Hogan had beliefs that he had, but he had a quote on the wall. It wasn't even his own quote. I say I got it from him, but he admitted he got it from somebody else. But it was in our weight room at Wesleyan High School, and on the wall it simply said, "You will not get any better by working out on the days that you feel like it." And it doesn't have to be about the curls and the pull-ups. That pertains to everything. Any job that you have, any level of participation, that is your responsibility. If you only do it on the days you feel like it, you just won't get anything done. You just won't. So we've got an A, right? We got an A in the story, which is they're forcing me to fight or there's a repercussion. We've got a Z, which is I will only fight on the days that I feel like it, and I'll let you know. Neither of those are wonderful. So how do we find something in between where we don't have to keep hearing this? And it's not that the words are annoying. It's that there is a message and a narrative that exists psychologically within the athlete's mind that shouldn't. It creates for hard feelings. That's not a great work environment. I don't want athletes to feel this way. I want them to leave with a great experience. I want to be looking back at the good memories, not with a resentment or thinking they're being forced into doing something. Being offered an opportunity. You want to do it. You get to do it. And if anything of the mindset is off there, let's figure out why.